One thing I haven't been able to get into with these 28 days of D&D is actual crafting. It is something I really enjoy, but it does take time. And with daily uploads, that's a little bit tricky. Well, at least let me show you some of my favorite tools. There's 3 categories: measuring, marking, and cutting. So let's dive into it. I have a lot of different rulers for different purposes, and long ones and short ones, but let me pick out these 2 in particular. So there is this triangle, which is very common in Europe, and I've been using this since my school days. It is super useful because you can measure in both directions. So you can have this at the corner of a piece of paper and then measure here. So it's just super useful. But I really haven't seen this very much in the US. If you know what this is called or where to find that in the States, please do let me know. I'd be super curious to know. Moving on to something that is very easily found in the US and a little bit harder to find in Europe is this Westcott 6-inch ruler. It has inches on one side, centimeters on the other side, made from aluminum, and has a cork backing. So this makes it anti-slippery and super versatile to use. You can use as a guide for cutting. You can just have this in your pocket. It's so light and thin, and I've had this particular one for a couple of years now. So super handy to have. And I only wish they would make a one that's maybe twice or even 3 times the size with the exact same dimensions, so thickness and width or whatever you want to call it. But there is a bigger version, but it's also heavier and chunkier, and it's just not quite as flexible as I would like it to be. So I really like this little guy, super handy to have, highly recommend. Now that we have our 2 measuring tools, let's move on to marking. And the most basic thing is, of course, a pencil. I've picked this up last year probably sometime, and I've really fallen in love with it. It's a Faber-Castell. It's super nice to hold. It has a little bit of grip. It has more width than most other pencils, and that's why I really like it for crafting. There's so much time where you just grip something really tight and your fingers get a little bit tight, and having something that is easy to hold and you don't have to clamp down on is just very useful to me. So I have this one in gray and in black. It's the exact same pencil, just different colors, and these are the only pencils I now use. When you work with a pencil, you also want an eraser. And this tool here is probably the oldest one in my collection. It is a Pentel. All the markings are gone by now, and I just recently got refills for the eraser. It is extendable, so with just a tip out you can do very fine erases, and it's super easy to clean up and quickly, and it just stashes with all your other pens. So that's why I really love this thing. Now we're already halfway through measuring and marking. Now let's look at some of the cutting utensils that I have here. This Rotary Cutter has been my favorite upgrade from the regular cutting knife. When you have a large sheet of cardboard, it just glides through there super easy, super nice, and is a lot easier on your wrist as well. This one is just a generic one from the hardware store, but it's been working really well for me, and I'm super happy that I got this. Then we have a scissor. This is a Fiskars, I believe number 5. But it is specifically made for mixed media and for cutting sticky stuff. So glue, tape, all that stuff. And it's very easy to clean and for residue to come off these scissors. So that's why I like them. They are small, so you can cut intricate detail with it. If you, for example, are cutting paper minis or so, this becomes very handy. And yeah, nice little scissor. Takes up little space and cuts really well. In general, Fiskars, if you look at cutting tools, they are kind of like the go-to for any of these tools. Next, we have a circle cutter from Olea. I don't use it as often anymore, but when you need it, it is very helpful to have. You can put in precise measurements of how big your circle you want to be, and then just cut along it. If you have to cut out perfect circles out of cardboard or paper, this is an invaluable tool. If, on the other hand, you need smaller circles and do a lot of them, let's say example for tokens, this tool is the best thing you can get. This is an exactly 1-inch paper cutter. It's essentially a giant hole punch. You slot in a piece of paper, chop, you got a hole. One more cutter. And this is a round corner cutter. So on each of these sides, you can put in a piece of paper or a thin piece of cardboard and you get a perfect radius. So you don't have those sharp, straight edges, but more something like from cards like these that are much nicer to hold, don't get as frayed as easily, and yeah, super fun to play with, super useful if you make your own monster cards or anything like that, or handouts, for example. You can find this on Amazon for pretty cheap, and there's different brands. I'm not sure which one this is specifically, but just look up Corner Punch, I believe, and I'm sure you'll find something. All right, that's it. Those are my favorite tools. Let me know if there was anything in there that's new to you, anything that you think I'm missing here. And with that, I'll talk to you tomorrow.